Aramco at the top of the world, a dream come true for Aramco. These were a few headlines used by many Saudi Arabian news agencies after the Aramco IPO deal. This video will discuss all you need to know about the Saudi Aramco IPO deal and how it broke a world record. So let's get right into it. In January 2016, Saudi Arabia's then Deputy Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman revealed his intention to sell 5% of Saudi Aramco in a worldwide initial public offering (IPO) to fund the country's ambitious economic reform goals. He projected Aramco's IPO to bring around $100 billion, valuing Saudi Aramco at a $2 trillion market capitalization. Tadawul, Saudi Arabia's stock exchange, began trading shares worth 1.5% of Aramco's value. So in December 2019, Saudi Aramco raised $25.6 billion, valuing Aramco at $1.7 trillion in its first public offering, IPO, by selling 3 billion shares at 32 reals, $8.53 each. However, Saudi Aramco stated that it might sell more shares if there was an over-allotment. Indeed, there was an over-allotment of shares, and we will soon explain what an over-allotment of share means and how it contributed to Aramco's IPO. The $25.6 billion in Aramco's IPOs was a record at the time of the market, except Saudi Aramco's IPO did not reach the target they had anticipated. Meanwhile, Aramco's IPOs, representing only 1.5% of its authorized share capital, surpassed the $25 billion raised by Alibaba in its IPO. Aramco acquired an additional $0.6 billion more than Alibaba's record when it went public on Wall Street in 2014. Saudi Aramco's journey to attaining the world's most significant IPO was not easy. They had their struggles. Saudi Aramco's IPO was halted several times and again in mid-October 2019, when fund managers informed Aramco leadership and Saudi officials that foreign investors were anticipated to estimate Aramco's market value at between $1.1 and $1.7 trillion, well below Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's $2 trillion targets. Anyway, Saudi Aramco will eventually reach its $2 trillion market value. It just wasn't in 2019. We will soon tell you when and how Saudi Aramco's $2 trillion record was hit. Samantha Gross, a director at Energy Security and Climate Initiative and a writer at Brookings.edu, said after Saudi Aramco's IPOs that transparency and valuation have been the most significant challenges since the Aramco IPO was announced. She explained that several variables affected the oil markets and lowered Aramco's perceived value in terms of valuation. Oil markets were worried about future demand, both in the short time due to the ongoing US-China trade war at the time and in the long run due to the need for the world to change away from fossil fuels to avoid the worst effects of climate change. Not all, but geopolitical fears further dragged down Saudi Aramco's stock price. In May 2019, attacks against the East-West pipeline were followed by attacks on the Gate processing complex and the Kuwait oil field in September 2019. The impact of the attacks on global oil supplies was reduced by spare capacity and a speedy repair effort. Saudi Arabia's hopes for a large foreign IPO were shattered when Saudi Aramco's valuation was lowered. Saudi Arabia's government refused to sell shares at the downside of valuation projections. Therefore, a suitable alternative was to offer a lesser percentage of the company to domestic and regional investors. The government provided incentives for local buyers, such as lower interest rates on loans to purchase Aramco stock. Saudi Arabian news also played its part in the television and radio broadcast of Saudi Aramco's IPO. Saudi Aramco had to rely on affluent local people and bring in a few allies from the Middle East region, including assets controlled by the United Arab Emirates and Kuwaiti governments. Even after all this effort, Saudi Aramco raised $25.6 billion, which broke a record but wasn't enough for the Saudi economy, so they had to utilize the greenshoe option. A greenshoe option, also known as over-allotment, allows corporations to issue more shares in an IPO when participants demand additional shares to purchase. Greenshoe option agreement allows firms to sell more shares than the company had planned to sell. Saudi Aramco announced that it had exercised its greenshoe option to sell an extra 450 million shares, bringing the total size of Aramco's IPO to a record $29.4 billion instead of the initial $25.6 billion. Thumbs if you like that Saudi Aramco used the greenshoe option to gather more shareholders after failing to reach their initial target. The Saudi Arabians rejoiced at this achievement, and sentiments from the Saudi Arabian news agencies clearly prove this. Aramco CEO's Amin Nasser told CNBC, "We are happy with the results today, and you have seen the market response to our results. The company will continue to be the leader globally when it comes to the energy sector." Furthermore, Saudi Aramco touched near record levels during trading hours in October 2021, valuing the company at $2 trillion. Saudi Aramco is the world's third most valuable company, following Microsoft and Apple in market capitalization. Aramco has surpassed the milestone as crude oil prices have risen to over $82 per barrel, the highest level in 7 years. The Saudi government still holds more than 98% of Saudi Aramco after the IPO, with the remaining shares distributed among Saudi citizens, institutions, and a few Wall Street firms. Most importantly, Saudi Aramco honors its promise to pay the $75 billion annual dividends until 2024 to its shareholders. Saudi Aramco remains the world's biggest oil company. There's more installed for Saudi Aramco in the years ahead, since it has been listed on Tadawul. If you found this video interesting, watch our video about the top 7 facts about Saudi Aramco, which you will find insightful. Thanks for watching this video. See you soon in the next.